I like to start off my Photoshop file by importing all the underlayer renders I made in Blender. So I'm importing all of those here. And then next up, I usually like to do the perspective grid. So we're using the plugin that I showed you how to use in the tools video, just to get a basic perspective grid for ourselves. Keep in mind though that our character is at an angle here, so we can't use the perspective grid exactly. Alright, after that I like to populate my canvas with a lot of reference images that will be useful for my character. So some examples of pants, some example of hairstyles, some example for jackets. It's just kind of nice to have those around and see what real life objects are doing in terms of shapes and such. Okay, then it's time to actually start drawing, and I always like to start off with the face because that's such an important part, the facial expression, and that's where our eye go to. So if the face is messed up, then usually the rest doesn't look right either. And even in this sketch phase, which is going to be fairly loose in some areas, I like to do a pretty tight drawing of the face because again, it's just so important. I usually also do, let's say, a naked view of the character, even though that's mostly going to be covered up, because usually I like to reference the sketch and not the 3D model after a while, because it just gives me a bit of a more drawn feeling, and I don't get stuck to the 3D model as much. So now that I have that, I'll do a very rough block-in of the robotic arm, which my character will have. So this is really just about the block-in phase. So you see I'm just using very simple cylinders here. And this is also where the struggle begins right away. I mean, you're gonna very easily be able to tell that I cannot figure out those straps across his body. So I'm already kind of annoyed at this stage. I think with the arm, I'm like, okay, that's sort of okay. I can see that working out later. But as you can see here with the straps, I'm just kind of struggling. So sometimes I take a little break for that by going back to the arm. And then after a while, I'll try to do some more straps again. So here I'm taking a break by, trying to do some hair first. And I'm not exactly wanting to use either of the hairstyles that are in the reference images, but I kind of want to do a little bit more my own thing. So similar to what our guy V has there, but then a little bit different. Okay, now I'm trying to do the straps again, and I'm a lot more happy about them now. I think I found a sort of simplicity that I think works a lot better. So I think it's better this way. I also should have imported my initial sketch a lot earlier, because that's basically what I'll be basing this character on. So now I'm going to do a very simple block-in of the jacket. And you can't really see it now because the video is sped up, but if I slow the video down to 100% here, you can see that I'm actually quite taking my time in this stage. I'm trying to be very purposeful of each stroke I put down, even though we're in a sketch phase. And that is because, at least for myself, if I let things become too sketchy or I draw too many lines, I get confused and I can't oversee the proportions and the shapes anymore. So I try to slow down here and try to be really thoughtful about each stroke before I put it down. But let's speed the video back up again, because it will be boring as hell for all of you guys, and also for me to watch myself draw at my snail-like speed. Okay, so here I'm just continuing, blocking in the basic shapes and the basic clothing items. And very soon here, I'm gonna realize that I have a problem. And this is one of those problems that you can't really foresee in the sketch phase and you just figure out at some point. And that is that I realize that if I just have my main character with a basically hidden bionic arm and just wearing a jacket and some jeans, I realized that that's going to be very boring, and this character is not going to be special at all. It's basically just going to be a character wearing a jacket and jeans, right? So that's why I'm thinking I have to do something to change this. So I'm going to ditch the idea of the Walkman radio and basically try and add more robotic components to the design. So right here in red, I'm just going to outline some basic shapes or basic areas where I want more robotic design to show through to the design. And again, think about the design stage here, right? I'm thinking about my proportions at this point and thinking, okay, where can I add little pockets of robotic design that will make the whole design look a lot more interesting. And at this stage, I'm also incorporating some value, even though those values won't be the final values. They'll help me a lot in figuring out where points of interest will be, and how we can create a sort of harmony in values, and where certain issues in overlap will appear. And what I'm thinking I'll do with the robotic design is basically change out that Walkman radio for sort of a battery pack kind of thing that powers the arm. And then from the arm, there'll be this cable to his head that he basically uses to control the arm. And then I'll do one more little cable thing that sort of goes into his pants or something like that. And that will show off a little bit in his robotic leg. And then to finish up here, I'm just gonna show two versions, one with the jacket and the gun that I'm just copying from the previous sketch, and then one version without the jacket where we get a better look at the robotic arm. And I'll change the expression of the head and the angle of the version without the jacket, but I'll do that in the final drawings stage.